So hello guys, in the first video in this channel. So to start, we are going to make the school lava shader in Unity 2019. We're going to use the shader graph available in the lightweight renderer pipeline. So let's start. First of all, let's make a new project. We use 2019 and the 3D, of course. So we create the project. Now we're going to use our own assets. It will be in the description. So the assets contain some textures and a plane that has 50 by 50 vertex, because the Unity plane has no vertices found. So let's install the lightweight renderer package. Then let's right click on the assets and create shader, PBR shader. That's a PBR graph or something. Then right click on the shader and create new material that is made by that shader. So that's it. Next, we are going to put the plane on the scene. As you notice, it's rendered correctly, but when we put the material, it will render incorrectly with that pink color. So to fix it, we create rendering, and the lightweight asset or something like this. Then we just put it in the project settings. Under graphics. So that's it. The plane is rendered correctly right now. Let's fix our camera position. That's it. Now let's open our shader. That's the preview, and that's our master node. This is where we put our properties. Let's change the preview to a custom mesh. That's our plane. And now let's make a Voronoi noise. That's for the noise. We link it to the albedo. As we see in the preview, it works just fine. We can change the scale and it works perfectly okay. So next, let's make a gradient noise. That's a gradient noise to make some texture in the lava. So let's change the temperature with the white balance node. That's the effect we are seeking. Let's do the same with the Voronoi noise. We change the temperature also, and we add some reddish tint to make the color different, a little bit different. Let's make a lerp node. That's the effect. We don't see it yet, but when we make a simple noise, we change the scale. It's too small, so that works fine. And we make it lerp. That's the lava albedo we are going for. When we link it to the albedo, as we see here, it works perfectly fine. Because when we save, we see it in the gameplay. We are 3 minutes in and it looks amazing. Now let's reopen our shader and let's move the nodes a little bit to the left so we can get some space to work with. So let's create a time node which is responsible for almost all movement in the shader graph system. Let's add a little offset. I experimented with 11, but I think it works fine with 3, I think. So we link it to the angle offset, and immediately we see the effect as the offset of the Voronoi noise angle offset just rotates and it makes that cool lava effect. Now let's also multiply the time with an input from the user. We'll do that later on. So we link that to a tiling and offset node. Then we take the output and hook it to the UVs. First of all, there is the UV of the Voronoi noise and the gradient noise, and also the simple noise. So this is the intended effect of a flowing lava. But here I am going to extend the output of the tiling to another multiply, then hook it again to the UV. I am going to add a property, a vector1 property that I am going to call speed, a value of 0.02, then drag and drop it in the graph editor and hook it to the first multiply and the second multiply. But here we see a problem with the multiply effect that is hooked to the simple gradient. So let's fix it together. And just hook the tiling directly to the simple noise. Now we have completed the flowing lava albedo, and we are going to start working on the normal map. So to start, let's make grayscale texture out of our albedo texture. First of all, we split the vector, then we add the x and y, then again we add the result with the z vector, as we see here, and we divide the result by 3. So our output is the same texture but grayscale. Now we're going to use the node normal from height map, which will give us a normal vector that Unity can understand. We're gonna strengthen it by using strength normal or normal strength, and we give it a value of 3. And we hook it to the normal in the master node, and the effect appears immediately in the preview. Now we are going to start working on the vertex displacement map. First of all, we are going to take the divided texture or the grayscale texture and multiply it by a number which is our wave size. We'll do this together. So we make a multiply node, and we make a new property which is our wave size or wave scale. Then we drag and drop it to the graph. We give it a default value of 1 before that, and then we drag and drop it to the graph and hook it to the multiply effect. Next we make a position node which holds the position of all vertices of our object. We split the vector, which gives us an RGBA. Then we make a new vector 3 which will hold our new vector, our new position. Our y will be our grayscale texture. Then we hook it to the position directly. We change the mode of our position to object mode. Then we see the effect immediately in the preview. Now we are going to add some emission effects. So we take our grayscale texture and we make a step node. A step node basically whatever value you give it, everything above it will be white, everything underneath it will be black. So we make a new time node, again the same time before, but this time we take the sign of time, which is a value between -1 and 1. We remap it to get a value between 1 and 1.3, which will give us this effect basically. So the white dots get bigger and get smaller again. Then we take our simple noise and we multiply it by this step node. It will give us this effect, which is the white dots will not be perfectly white, but it will be a gradient. Then we give it a white balance again and add some temperature and some reddish tint to get the same color as before. And we hook it to the emission simply. And we got our result. This is our shader. As we see here, the waves are too big, so we need to change their values to be a little bit smaller. So we're going to do that by using our properties which we added in the shader graph. Et voila, this is our lava. So now after our lava is finished, we are going to add some effects to make it more realistic. First of all, let's start with the lighting. We add some reddish tint to the directional light existing per default in Unity. Little change makes this difference. So now let's play around more with lighting. Now let's make a terrain. We'll make it smaller, like 50 by 50. Put it under our shader, our plane. Put it under our plane, and let's draw our mountain. So this is our final terrain. Now we are putting some point lights. Point lights have different properties than directional light, so they emit light in a sphere rather than a direction. We are going to add an animation for the radius, so the radius grows, then shrinks, then grows again, and loops, so it gets that glowing effect for the lava. Next we are going to copy paste that and add some reddish tint so the terrain around the lava glows also. Next, we are going to add a game object in the center of our terrain, an empty game object. Then we make the camera as its child. So that game object will be our pivot, and the camera rotates around that game object so it can rotate around our scene. So let's add our assets to the terrain. Let's paint our textures, etc. And we are almost done. The shader works fine. Now we are just going to rotate the camera by simply adding a rotation animation with some scale around the pivot. so it works perfectly fine. We tweak some values, and here is the final result. Let's watch it together. Don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next video. Goodbye.